Hey, welcome back everyone to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we are a show that talks about or takes a behind the scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aviation maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes to give you that split seconds relief in your day that can possibly prevent a mishap. I am Six.
I'm MVP.
And our third host, Shoreline, is silently in the back, twisting knobs, making sure our faces stay fit for radio and that our audio stays good to go. So today, MVP and I had a little offline talk about some office culture, some employee expectations, and just like how to like really set the tone for a workplace, like where we treasure productivity, we treasure innovation, and we kind of leave it open for both the employees and the supervisor to make those things happen. And one of the things that really popped up for us was the Tesla's Anti-Handbook handbook, which probably by now has been distributed and leaked and critiqued so many different ways. I think this first came out to the general public about 3 years ago, I want to say. About 2 or 3 years ago.
And that's how it came to the general public, is somebody from within leaked it, but which is how we were able to find it on the interwebs. So I'm sure the handbook might have changed by now. I would think so, but knowing Musk, out of spite, maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Like, cool, you guys all see it, so everybody knows now. Back to work.
Right. And if you haven't seen it, by all means, like do a quick Reddit or Google search or whatnot, and just kind of take a chance to really read this air quotes handbook. And you'll find out real fast by handbook is really a loose term. It's more like a pamphlet. I think it's about 4 pages in total, about 4 pages. And most handbooks, if you've ever held a job before in the US, you'll realize real fast that most handbooks are at least 20 plus, 40 plus pages, depending on what kind of organization you're with and how big it is. And if and when it does have a union, it can be pretty cumbersome. And
that's exactly what I was going to say. Most of you, have you ever looked at the handbook within your own company that you work for? I can tell you the one where I work at is like, I think it's like 40 plus pages. I mean, it's a massive organization, right? International and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So they've got a lot of things to cover for different areas of the country, different areas of the globe. All that equality, inclusivity. You got to capture all those things for the being politically correct, all the lawyer speak and lawyer jargon.
Yep.
But this handbook looks like it was written while he sat on the couch late one night with a beer in hand and just said, all right, I'm going to type this out. Because there's zero lawyer speak. It's literally how we all talk to one another on a daily basis. It's hysterical, but it gets straight to the point.
It is. And love or hate Elon Musk and the way he runs business, this anti-handbook, I would have to say, is probably like one of the best trendsetters for a company to use. And I think Tesla is able to get away with it just because of like how much they push the boundaries of a lot of things, right? Good and bad, right? There's a lot of pros and cons to this, but generally speaking, setting the tone of expectations for both the employee and the supervisor and just the company as a whole, it's a pretty refreshing kick in the face, if you ask me. Just like as MVP said, like with most handbooks, it's very politically correct, has a lot of legal speak, a lot of lawyer jargon. And majority of that is because, if you own a company, the last thing you want is for somebody to sue you. So something like this is very in your face, very direct.
So to kick this off, right? I'll just use it from the opening paragraphs of the Anti-Handbook. If you're looking for a traditional employee handbook filled with policies and rules, you won't find one. Policies and rules tell you where the bottom is. They tell you how poorly you can perform before you get shown the door. That's not us. Like right off the bat, right out the gate. Like we're not setting low standards here. In fact, I'm not going to tell you what the low standards are. You're just going to have to be pinging it at 100. What's the higher frames per second? You're going to have to pinging real high all day long.
Right. And again, like going back to like this kind of sets the tone right off the bat. If there's anything right like that, or there's anything out of this, setting that high standard right off the bat is probably one of the best things ever. And most cases, you know, like if you look at any sort of company handbook, it kind of like it's very welcoming. It's very like velvet dagger, so to say, like, oh, we appreciate your time for joining our team and we're so happy to have you, you know, like all happiness and claps and stuff. And then before they really shake your hand to get you in, it's like, oh, by the way, here's what you can't do. Right? As this anti-handbook says, we're showing you the lowest bar possible before you get shown the door, which
but this one says here's the highest bar, here's where you have to achieve.
Yes.
Okay, what are the minimums? Yes. Like the highest standard is the minimum. Oh, okay. So it's one of those, like, you're like, well, you can't, it's kind of a, you know, Six and I were talking about this beforehand, and he kind of brought this up where it's one of those, like, it really works for you as the employer or the supervisor or whatever, because you can say, hey, you know, you weren't doing this, get out, or we're going to replace you with somebody higher performing. Oh, well, you can't because of X, Y, Z. No, it doesn't state that here.
Yep.
Which could open you up to a lawsuit, right? You can say, okay, well, I'm going to sue you because wrongful termination, whatever else. Well, okay, maybe, but you're also sort of fighting City Hall.
Yep.
A little bit in this regard, right? For this particular CEO and how they choose to operate, because they got deeper pockets than you.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
And that's not just for his organization. That's even for the organization I work for. I mean, it would be trying to like fight City Hall. It'd be a little bit better. I'd have a better chance just because, you know, the handbook's written not like this. But but at the end of the day, it's kind of one of those, what a lot of these companies do. They're like, oh, okay, you want to play this game? I don't have time. Like, time is money, and I don't have enough time to deal in courts with you. So we can take this to court, and I can essentially bleed you out, or how about you take $50,000, sign this non-disclosure, and walk away? Because $50,000 from a lot of these large corporations, they already have funds set aside for that kind of crap, whether you realize it or not. Everybody, and they go, "Oh, 50, here, go away."
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Kind of crazy.
It is, and let's be honest. You know, like when there is some kind of civil violation like that, most companies will definitely, unless they, like MVP said, they just want to bleed you out until you shut your mouth. They always like, you know, here's your $50K, or here's your reward money. Just shut up and go away. All right, thanks for doing your business.
Yeah, here's your severance package.
Yeah, and gonna address that real fast. There are some people who really, that's their life, is to do some shit like that. Like they go to a company, they slip on a banana peel they don't even have, and then they sue the company for workplace injuries or some shit like that. There are some people like that. I don't know the exact percentage, but just letting you know they exist, and that kind of spells some trouble for both the employees and the company as a whole. So they do happen. They do exist.
I saw once where the company got sued for discrimination because when like a supervisor walked in, like it was like an open seating area, right? Like say it's like your maintainer's office or whatever. It's kind of open seating was there, and they walked through and said, you know, oh, hey, so-and-so, hey, so-and-so, hey, everybody, hey, so, you know, kind of one of those things. And they just said they sued for discrimination because they didn't specifically say that individual's name. So, like, didn't have a leg to stand on, right? And obviously that really went nowhere for that individual. But to tie in with what Six was saying, that is some people's motive. They just show up, do what they can do to get some money. Boom, they're off to the next job. Start the process over.
Right. So having some kind of expectations like this is kind of a good thing for those kind of companies. And so like it really empowers like them to say like, hey, we set the standard. We kind of leave that to your interpretation as to what that is. So it doesn't give them too much of a legal leg, right? For AKA those kind of people who gold dig, like, well, it says all inclusive, but you didn't include me, so therefore you violated me in some shape or fashion. Like there's some people who are that petty. We take it or leave it. What do you guys feel about that? What I do like the following sentence of what MVP read, where it says like, we prefer to have incredibly high standards and to hire exceptional people who enjoy pushing themselves to perform at the highest level every day. We want to surround ourselves with people driven to do the right things and act with integrity, even when no one is looking. That's huge. That's huge. And for most, or let's say leadership development classes, that's one of the first things they tell you to do is like set a clear expectation of what you want, right? There's a different way to church this up. They say to be clear is to be kind is what some people say. And this kind of says it right off the bat. Like, we expect you to hold yourself to the highest standard available to yourself and to be open and honest with what you're doing, even when no one's looking. We all say that, right? We all say this across the board. We church it up in one way, shape, or form to put our personal twang to it. But setting that precedent right off the bat is probably one of the best things to do. And already this handbook is saying a lot of good shit, right? Again, take it or leave it how you guys feel about it. If Tesla's really doing good or Elon Musk is really doing good.
Well, I think this is written to the fact of, I think most of us, you and myself and all of our listeners included, we are those individuals where we read this and we're like, yeah, that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're those driven, motivated individuals.
Yep.
Where this is going to rub somebody the wrong way is the one who's trying to do the least and get the most, right? Or who's just trying to skate by.
Exactly.
Because they're essentially kind of being called out in this. And as we go through it, you'll hear those call outs even more. But it's comical in a way, but it's sort of eye opening. Mm-hmm. It's kind of almost refreshing to hear because it's a lot of stuff we all think, but to hear a business tycoon, if you will, somebody pushing the boundaries of all industries they're involved in, like it's interesting to hear somebody at that level talk plainly, I guess, for lack of a better terms.
Right. And you're exactly right. Because most individuals of the C-suite variety, i.e. like executive office and stuff, they try to be very churched up with how they speak, right? It's very rare you hear them just speak loosely. And take it or leave it what you guys feel about that. But hearing someone just be human instead of having like a pre-prepared speech of how they want to talk, it makes it sound more natural. So for all the C-suite individuals, please don't like wish death upon us. It's just, hey, sometimes you sound robotic. I'm sorry. Like, it sounds like you've said this so many times that it's just become natural for you to speak that way. Just saying. So going to another section of the Anti-Handbook, it goes about trust, right? Which is huge for anyone, employed or not. It goes, we give everyone who joins our team a lot of trust and responsibility. We operate with the assumption that everyone will do the right thing, including you. The truth is some people have violated this trust or ignored their responsibilities. We won't change our approach because of the few who have let us down. Instead, we let them go. Wow.
Like, right up front, there's you don't get to come back. There's no second chance here.
Yeah.
Do or do not. That's your options.
Right. And in the aviation sense of the word, that's like huge. That's monumental. Because if we don't fire you, let's be real, if we don't fire you, we kind of just do less of you, if that makes any sort of sense. Like, if you've violated a job or a technical violation on purpose, or you try to be shady about it, your consequences are have a wide range. Like, we're just not going to give you any more jobs. We're not going to make you do that type of work no more. We can cut up your license or your certificate, whatever that case may be. Or we're just going to pass your name around. It's like, hey, use this person at the absolute last resort. Like, everybody who's rated 2 and above are somehow not present, then you could go to this one. Right. And we've said it in previous episodes where, like, if you're not doing the job right, or if you're the kind who likes to take a lot of shortcuts, your name gets passed around throughout the entire aviation community, which is extremely small, by the way, that this person is not the one. Like, give that.
Hey, so-and-so applied and I know you used to work there. Do you know who they are? Oh yeah, I do know them. You got anything to say about them? I'd go ahead and, it's like, oh, dude, hire now. Or it's one of those, like, I just file that in the shredder box,
Yeah. Just give like the blanket, thanks for your time, however you send that email out or notification. And that's exactly what it means, especially with the trust piece. So again, as MVP has studied, like we think it, but when you actually say it sounds offensive, but at the same time, like this is exactly what you want. Like I trust you to do the right thing all the time, and to do otherwise is fucking terrible. And depending on what that violation is, you just may or may not even have a second chance, depending again on what it is. Like if you fat fingered something, okay, that's just sheer ignorance. But if you blatantly try to purge something, then we're having problems, because that can lead to monumental problems, like flights not going off on time, something breaking, some kind of incident, or cascading to an incident. Huge, right?
Yeah, anything that could cause harm to human life or property, assets, and such like that.
Yes. Go ahead.
Moving along here a little bit with this. So you kind of mentioned something a little bit ago about, talk to the next person in line, talk to the next person in line. We've all heard of the chain of command, especially anybody who's worked in a military environment. There's a chain of command, and you don't go outside of that chain of command. And some people get that power trip on their shoulders because, no, I'm the boss. You have to talk to me. You don't go to my boss. I talk to my boss. Yeah, I talk to my boss. You talk to me. It's sort of a way to control the narrative a little bit. But here in the communication piece, it says anyone can and should email or talk to anyone else according to what they think is the fastest way to solve a problem for the benefit of the whole company. You can talk with your manager. You can talk to your manager's manager. You can talk directly to a VP in another department. You can talk to Elon himself. You can talk to anyone without anyone else's permission. Moreover, you should consider yourself obligated to do so until the right thing happens.
Ooh, that's
kind of cool, because sometimes, as we've all worked in an environment, right? How many times have you gone to like the lead mechanic? Hey, boss, I see you guys are having this problem. Here's my suggestion. Do it. Who the hell are you, Nugget? Get the hell out of the way, type.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a new guy here. You don't know shit.
Right.
Well, so in some things you're like, okay, well, let me go talk to the director of maintenance then. Hey, boss, like you guys are having this problem. Here's what I would do. In many settings that would get you, that would be considered heresy, right?
Yes.
The director of maintenance is happy because he got an answer and his problems are getting fixed. But the problem still is going to lie in with your lead mechanic, who is not going to be happy you went above and beyond even after they said no. But in this situation, it sounds like if you went to the VP and the problem got resolved, it sounds like if there's any retaliation from your direct leadership, sounds like the punishment would fall back on your direct leadership for not doing what's best for the company. And then you would be, as it was said in the trust paragraph, be let go.
Right. And we'll make mention too, like we're not talking about like simple gripes here. We're talking about like major problems. Like, hey, like if we don't do this, it's going to lead to catastrophic failure. Right. Like we're talking like that level shit, right? Like not something like, I show up to 5 minutes late. I think it's bullshit. And you complain to the VP about it. Please don't do that. Right.
Yeah,
we're talking about like,
but this should be something along the lines of like, hey, on this model series of aircraft, we're noticing stress cracks in these wing spars at station whatever,
Yeah.
Okay. And you bring that to your lead and you're like, hell, sign it off. It's good to go. Maybe elevate it,
Yeah.
Again, and if your lead's the one who said, it's good, sign off, they should be removed and license revoked anyhow.
Right.
For that decision, but so that's what I'm getting at. Something serious.
Yeah. Or say like another example is like, say like, someone tells you to sign off an MEL that shouldn't, right? Or put something in the MEL that shouldn't, like, that doesn't sound right. Examples like that, right? Like that's something that you should most definitely elevate.
Yeah.
Even though
put it on the MEL list. Well, it's not on it's just sign it off and put it on the MEL. Yeah, but that component's not on the MEL list. Yeah,
right.
Put it on there anyways. Like, no. It's not on there for a reason. Engineer somewhere said that this was a critical flight component, so we should probably fix it.
Yeah. This kind of goes into the job duties too, right? Like it is your responsibility to understand what's expected of you. Your manager should explain your responsibilities and what's expected. However, if you're unclear at any time, ask no one or ask. No one told me is an excuse that will never fly here. Your number one job, everyone's number one job, is making this company a success. If you see opportunities to improve the way we do things, speak up, even if these are outside of your area of responsibility. You should have a personal stake in the company's success. So make suggestions and share your ideas. Your good ideas mean nothing if you keep it to yourself. Like,
Yeah. I mean, how many times, like Six and I talk about this, at least from the quality realm, right? You go and you'll be doing a process audit or something. You're going and asking, hey, why aren't you guys doing this? Your process says you will. Oh, I didn't know the process. I've heard it a whole bunch. You go, I didn't even know that process existed, or oh, I didn't read that part in there. Oh, okay, well that's cool. Then if you weren't aware, no, that's not an answer. It's not a valid answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think the courts, when that aircraft crashes and lives are lost, I'm sure that'll hold up in court too. Oh, I didn't know. Ignorance is not, what is it? Ignorance is not an excuse or something like that. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse, a viable excuse. I don't know. I'm butchering that statement, but you guys get where I'm going with it.
Yeah, and especially when they have like the reading signs where everyone just blindly passes along. It's like yeah, whatever, sign date, move on. And they're like, well, it says here you signed, you read, and you complied. So what is up with it? Like, and then you kind of have to backtrack and be like, well, no one exactly reads that, but you're obviously not going to say that, right? Like, oh, it slipped my mind, kind of shit.
Well, I've also heard once too where I brought it up, and I've had other maintenance management go, well, there's just too many processes for everybody to be able to sit down and read all these things and to understand what's going. Whose fault is that? That's not mine. You guys are the ones who wrote this shit.
Yeah,
not me. I'm just holding you to what you said you were going to do. If you think it's overly convoluted and complicated, then create a quick reference list for your people. These documents have these items. If you need to research any of that, look in this document, but here's the quick synopsis of it, blah, blah, blah. You can't just say, it's just too much for all of us to read. It's impossible for all of us to know.
Right.
Well, exactly. You said you would, so, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Here's your fail.
Yep. Sorry. Try again. What I like to as well, we've complained about this so many episodes about the innovation piece. Like we say we want people who innovate, who'd like to think out of the box, but when it comes time to actually put the rubber to the road, it's like, shut up, Nugget. You're just a dumb mechanic. We don't care what you have to say. Right. We've heard that so many times. Like it's a really good idea, but it's the fact that it's coming from someone that's not of their inner circle variety that they just choose to ignore it, which I think is probably a crime in itself, to be honest. But when there's a legitimate good idea coming through, especially from wherever it's originating, if they see a problem and they understand what's going on, and there's a legit way to help, it shouldn't matter where it comes from. But then again, we've said this before too, like humanity can do anything so long as they don't care who gets the credit. So,
oh yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings from Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
It says there's nothing man can accomplish as long as he doesn't mind who gets the credit.
Right.
How many years have I been saying that?
Like years upon years, and it's got
to be at least 6 now.
And it's sadly true, right? So for those on the floor, for those in whatever section you are, like if you have a fantastic idea and it's legitimately going to help, just know that sometimes your name may not be attached to that procedural change or that standard change, whatever the case may be. Just know it may or may not be you, but just just have the fulfillment in knowing that you helped engineer that to happen. So just a little tangent on that one.
Okay, well, so that sort of ties in with goals and feedback then, right?
Mm-hmm.
We said, there's nothing man can accomplish, or I guess in this day and age, you say nothing a person can accomplish as long as they don't mind who gets the credit.
Mm-hmm.
But this ties with the goals and feedback. You and your supervisor are encouraged to discuss your job performance and goals on an informal day-to-day basis. Day-to-day? That's crazy, man. I've never been in a place where I've done it on day-to-day. But that's cool. If you would like feedback or any other input from your supervisor, take initiative and ask. Do not wait for your supervisor to initiate a conversation or for a company-initiated review process to get feedback you need to perform at a high level. So that's kind of wild in and of itself, because now the success of that depends on the supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I've had supervisors in the past that if you ask for feedback, even on a day-to-day basis, they'll give it to you. And then sometimes once they know that you kind of look for that feedback or you need that to adjust on the fly, they'll openly start to give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Six and I work for a guy who was that way. Hey, Six, great job on that project. However, moving forward, I need this metric to show this, or I need this to do that, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, hey, cool, thanks. And then from there on, it's like, hey, excellent report. Hey, you're knocking out of the ballpark, or hey, we need to make some minor adjustments. Whereas, you know, I've had leadership where I've gone to and said, hey, can I get some feedback? And they're like, oh yeah, you're doing good.
Right. Like,
okay, well, can you give me some specifics? Like, I've submitted XYZ processes. I've created XYZ metrics. I've you know, created opportunities that brought funding to the program. Blah blah blah. Anything specific? Oh yeah. Well, I don't really have time right now. We'll get back to it. Cool. Can you give me a date and time? I'll let you know. It never happens. So the goals and feedback side is really dependent on who you work for and if they're being held by their leadership to ensure that they are giving feedback,
right,
and not just what's required biannually from corporate.
Right. And well, we're not talking about like validation of your ego or anything like that, right? We have seen some people who feel like that's what we're asking for. Like, I just need to feel validated. I mean, yes and no to a point. What we're really asking for is like, hey, if I'm doing something wrong or I'm doing something great, just kind of tell me so I know to keep doing it or to stop doing it, right? We've had some supervisors or managers, as MVP stated, where it's almost like pulling teeth when we're trying to get like a how to or do not or something like that, right? And we've also had times where we've come to annual appraisals or process evaluations where they were all of a sudden doing terrible in certain aspects, but like we didn't even know these existed. Like, so how am I even supposed to know that I was supposed to perform that way when you never even told me that I was supposed to do it that way, you know?
Right. Or it's one of those where, hey, let's put something together. I want to see, let's start tracking some data on this. Let's figure out some trends going on with this specific subset of data. Okay, what's the end goal of this data? What are we hoping to get out of it? What are you talking about? Just put something together.
Like
okay,
stuff.
Well, I kind of need to know what you're looking for or what the end goal is so I know what to put together and how to present it. I got to have something I don't know, just put something together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you put it together and you're like, hey, can you review this before we go to the upper level meetings? Oh, no, I'm sure it's fine. And then you get to the upper level meetings and they go to your boss and they say, hey, what's this all about? And you're like, oh, actually, MVP put this together. MVP, can you talk to this? Sure, blah, blah, blah. And then the people in the upper level meetings go, well, this is all well and good, but doesn't really tell us much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, okay, we've had these amount of parts break over the last 5,000 flying hours. But it's not enough to say that this one specific component is failing. It's just kind of a list of things.
Yeah.
And then your boss goes, oh, this is kind of crap, MVP. We really need to go back into the drawing board and revamp this thing. And you want to be like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You gave me zero guidance. I asked for guidance. You gave me none. So I put something together. I asked for feedback. You said, probably fine because you couldn't be bothered. And then you jump on the bandwagon with the upper level leadership to bury me openly. That's cool. Yeah, it really makes me want to work hard for you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because next time it's going to be like, hey, put that together. Hey, did you get that together? No, sorry, I didn't have time. Oh, I have to present this afternoon. Wow, that's crazy. It sounds like a you problem, you know?
Yeah, exactly, right? So, and that's another aspect of setting expectations, right? Is have clear, measurable goals, right? Or SMART, as they call it, right? Like, what's it? Like the keep it simple, stupid thing, right? Like make it so like where it's easy to understand, clear and concise, where like there's no guesswork behind it. I mean, obviously leave a little open so, you know, you can adjust and be flexible, but at least be open and clear about what you want instead of just like, hey, put some stuff together, make it look cool. I'm like, what kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I want to see how many components have failed on Beechcraft King Air 350s over the last 5,000 flying hours. Let's say you got 5 of them in your fleet. I want to see what components are failing. Okay, do you want the hours that they're failing at? Do you want to see if there's a trend in specific, like say prop governors are crapping out at 200 every 200 hours, or what do you want to show with this data? I don't know, just whatever components are failing, put it together and put what out, put when they failed. Well, actually, that's even more information. This is me over talking now. I don't know. Just figure out what components have failed over the last 5,000 flight hours on our King Air 350s. Okay. Let me start combing through the logbooks then. In the so okay. Here's what you asked for. What the hell does this tell me? I don't know. It's what you asked for. Shit.
Right. It's just like a laundry list of stuff.
And in fact, you probably went above and beyond and said, "Hey, actually, I noticed a trend that every 1,000 flight hours, we have a prop governor shit out. Except we've only had 2 prop governors shit out at 1,000 hours, roughly 1,000 hours. Everything else is just kind of random. Oh, that doesn't really tell us anything. Yeah, that's why I asked you all this up front, because I thought it was going to be a waste of time, since I'm the one doing the maintenance and kind of know everything we've changed. Right? We carry it that way as maintainers. Like, we know the stuff we've changed on what aircraft. You just kind of get into that swing of things. And so your boss is out of the loop on it, and they ask for that stuff, and you're just like, this doesn't tell me anything. Right? Yeah. That's why I asked up front, because I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, like because then
what are you looking for?
Yeah, what do you want from me? What do you want from me?
What do you want from me? I'm only human.
Only human. And another big one, especially with safety, right? Safety in the workplace, that's huge. And for us in aviation, that's like paramount. That's like the number one thing that we most definitely try to work for. And we hear this time and again, especially in handbooks, like, oh, we care about safety. Safety is number one and la-di-da, right? But it doesn't, it's kind of like one of those blanket promises that we all tend to kind of just glaze over. I think safety is probably like one of those highly emphasized, underutilized programs, Like,
oh, definitely. Like, it's there because you have, and probably typically 1 or 2 people, because it's contractually required or federally required or whatever else, but they're not used how they're supposed to be.
Yeah, like sanding hexavalent chromium with no respirators and stuff. Who does that? Who does that?
What do you mean wear eye protection and rubber gloves when servicing with Skydrol?
We don't need that. My skin has grown an immunity to Skydrol.
I have cancer-proof skin. Aha. Take that, evolution.
Right. We don't need that. So like with this anti-handbook, it goes, safety is really important to us. We want you to go home every day in the same condition you arrived. We believe the best way to create a safety culture is to ask the really smart people working here to use good judgment and common sense. This means being safety conscious at all times, complying with all safety policies and procedures, including wearing PPE, never performing the job that you feel is unsafe, keep work areas clean and walkways free of obstructions, especially in production areas, communicating with others if you see safety issues, and reporting unsafe or hazardous conditions to ESHM. Yeah. Right. I like that part where it says being safety conscious of all times and never performing a job that you feel is unsafe. That never happens in the aviation.
Yeah, we're never asked to do that.
Never.
Hey, go change this G550 vertical tail nav light with, well, that's like 25 feet in the air. We don't have any ladders. Well, that tall. And we don't have a scissor lift, and we don't have a bucket lift, and we don't have any of this. No, but we have 3 12-foot ladders.
Just like freaking hodgepodge them together and hope for the best.
And we have a series of ratchet straps, and you're like, what?
That doesn't sound right.
All right, just pull the box truck up behind the jet and then take the 12-foot ladder and put it on top of the box truck and then climb up there. Well,
yeah.
But I don't care if it's raining. wear a rain jacket. No, that's not why I'm questioning the rain aspect. Is because I'm afraid to get wet. I'm the slipping issue. Well, you have your safety slip resistant shoes on, don't you? That's not the point I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I think you're missing the issue here, man. Right. But yeah, we've all done it time and again where like they say this will happen, or this is the revenue, this is the mission maker, whatever expletive you guys have heard that says like this must happen, no ands, ifs, or buts. And sadly, we've all at one point in time enabled that speak by doing said things. Like we've.
Well, yeah, we're all about getting the job done, right? We want the aircraft to get out of the chocks or out of the gate when it's supposed to. That's who we are as people, wanting to succeed and over what's the old Marine thing there?
Overcome, adapt and overcome.
Adapt and overcome, right? We all become Marines in that regard. We all adapt and overcome in the face of adversity.
Yep.
But
some things you should say
falling off of from 24 feet from 3 ratchet strapped together 12-foot ladders probably doesn't hold up so well when you try to claim occupational what's the pay when you're at home because you're broken.
Oh yeah,
so you get that.
Oh, workers' comp, yeah.
Workers' comp, yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, workers' comp was good, but the company's going to, you ratchet strap 3 ladders together, and that's not in our policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys also don't provide the work equipment to do the job correctly.
Oh, stop
it. But nobody told you to do that. The hell they didn't. So-and-so told me over there. Do you have any email proof of that?
No.
That was a verbal conversation.
See, well.
Your word against mine. Damn it. So,
Yep. More to follow on that. What I did find is probably like the most striking, or second most striking, of this whole anti-handbook is the attendance and tardiness piece. Yeah, we'll get into the most shocking, but this is probably like the second most. If you want to lead off on that one, Mr. MVP.
Yeah, attendance. I'll read attendance first, and I'll read tardiness. If you're the kind of person who holds yourself to the highest standards, or our attendance policy is exactly what you'd expect it to be. Be the kind of person your team can rely on. Be here when you're supposed to be here. We need you. We can't get things done when you aren't here. If you can't be here, notify your supervisor as soon as possible and talk about what's going on. Your supervisor will be reasonable and respectful if you are. If you can't be reliable, this isn't the place for you. You'll be asked to leave. And it might not be a choice. That's under the attendance piece. Now, going for tardiness. You're tardy. It's something kids are told in school. This isn't school. Plan to be here on time, ready to start work when you're scheduled. Traffic accidents happen. We get that, but they don't happen every Monday during football season.
Ooh.
Just right? Kind of calling it right out there.
Yeah, right. Now again, like a lot of people will take offense to this, and I mean, I'm gonna admit, right, there's times where I would possibly take offense because like I can't be 100% on time all the time, every time. There's always going to be some form of issue that arises, and my take on that is like if you, as long as it's not like an all the time thing, and you you make up that time by doing some effective work, then I can get it. But at the same time, like with what this is saying, we all think it. Like I find it very hard to believe that you're always late on a Monday or a payday, and you magically have something to do sometime before work ends. Huh? Weird.
It's weird how every Monday you incur some sort of incident that prevents you from being here on time. Yet strangely, every Friday there's an emergency which causes you to leave early.
Yeah, or it's a payday. You just magically have somewhere to be, right? Weird. I find that really weird. But again, like take it for leave it. Pros and cons of this, but we all think it at some point. Like your attendance, it means a lot to your profession. It means a lot to the company or organization you're working with, and the reason being is because like we rely on you, we trust you to show up when you're supposed to and do the work as you're supposed to. We get it. Life happens, and it's not always the case. But in some organizations, like you can't leave until the next shift comes in. Like it just doesn't work that way. Granted, majority of these are military related, but some of these are also like emergency services related. Like I can't just leave this place unattended until someone else shows up. So you being late just fucks my day up even more. And in some cases, you in those 5 minutes that you're late, something happens, and then I have to stick around for that whole thing to work itself out because you're the person on scene, and you know your organization's policy is you can't leave until the job's finished or whatever the case may be. Or it's so critical that you can't just leave midway and brief somebody to pick up where you left off, and they understand 100% what's going on and not miss a beat. Some organizations are like that. Some services are like that. So this is pretty much targeted. It's kind of taking that mindset and saying, like, if you're late, you're fucking someone over. And we understand life happens, but it doesn't happen every single time. So it's like, that's what this is suggesting.
Yeah, we've all worked with somebody where it's like, you can't remember the last time they worked a full week.
Yeah.
Like how many, like as many medical ailment excuses as you hear, you're like, how is science, medical sciences not dissecting you right now to figure out the gene code that you have that should be eradicated from the gene pool, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're, you know what I'm saying? Like how many spleens have you had rupture? This is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, just making up it's an extreme one, but you get what I'm saying. Like, hell, I heard a guy call out once because he stubbed his toe.
Mm-hmm.
I stubbed my toe on the coffee table while I was getting ready for work this morning. I'm not going to make it in.
Like, did you break your foot? Like, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah, is your toe 90 degrees to the place it should be? You know, like,
yeah, like, do you need to go to the hospital, man? Like, what's going on here?
No, it just hurts really bad, and it hurts to walk. It sucks because for many of the places we work, you can't go, I don't give a shit. Get to work.
Right.
You can't do that because then you'll be held. You'll have to go to sensitivity training and other various HR trainings.
Yep. So the next couple bunches kind of talk about sick days and vacation, and we kind of get the message. If you want to go through that MVP, that's up to you. I kind of want to just head on over to the part that really stuck out to us. Like at the moment we read this, like, wow.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like with the sick days and stuff, it's pretty much straightforward. If you're sick, don't show up to work. Keep that illness to yourself. You use your paid time off if you have it. Sick time if you have it. And then likewise with vacation, if you have it, use it.
The no call, no show one real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to point out the first sentence. Our assumption will be that if you don't call or don't show up to work, you're a jerk. Mm-hmm. The first sentence in that's the only thing I really wanted to say about a no call, no show. They're just basing you calling you a jerk off the top. Yeah.
And it's true, right? Because like if you don't show up, like no one knows what the fuck's going on. And going back to what I said earlier, if we're in a type of organization or a service where we can't leave until another replacement shows up, and it's supposed to be you, and you don't do anything. What the fuck, right? Like,
well, or let's say MVP, me, we call out, I call out, and a no call, no show, not call out, no call, no show it, and 6 shows up, and he's already knows what he's going to be doing for the day. He's got his stuff planned out, what he's going to do and when he's going to do it, and that he's got his whole day mapped in. And then our supervisor shows up and goes, "Hey, I don't know where MVP's at. He hasn't shown up and he hasn't called. So we're going to task him with this today, but we need you to do this now since he's not here." So now 6 is going, MVP, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I had my full day. Now I got to include your tasking in here too. I got to reevaluate and replan my whole day. And then 6 was supposed to go home at 5 p.m., but there he is at 8 o'clock. Still at work because I couldn't be bothered to show up.
Mm-hmm.
But 6 is the type that, okay, well, I got to get my stuff done because I planned it, because if I don't do it today, my stuff today, it's going to spill over tomorrow, which is going to put me on a backlog. But we can't have MVP stuff go unchecked, so I got to knock it out too because we got to keep this thing rolling.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another example is like, say, with the AOG stuff, like say if there's a task out, like someone's supposed to,
You talking about my experience?
like someone is supposed to replace you because, you know, you're timed out or you're supposed to leave at a certain point, and said person no call, no show, or we can't get a hold of him or her. Just like, well, fuck it. And say your boss didn't even bother. Like you just readily assume that person was already there, and they call up like, what the fuck, MVP? Why are you still there? Like, well, let me tell you.
Yeah, so-and-so is supposed to come relieve you like 3 hours ago. Let's say I'm 4 hours away from home station working a jet. I'm on hour 48 straight, right? Been up for 48 hours straight working all over the place. And I'm rounding up my time, and the boss says, hey, I think it's time for you to go home and get some sleep because it's getting dangerous for you. I'm going to send somebody down to relieve you. Sounds good. And hours go by and nobody shows up. But I got to release the jet, right? So I just keep working because I'm there. I'm working till I'm relieved. But I get the work done and I submit the release for flight paperwork. And then the boss, you know, he's CC'd on all those emails. So he looks at it and goes, hey, what the hell? What are you doing? Trying to release this jet. So once I'm done with that, I can go home. Like, well, you were supposed to relieve 3 or 4 hours ago. Well, you called me 8 hours ago and it was going to take the guy 4 hours to get here. So 8 hours have gone by and I have not seen or heard from individual. Well, have you tried calling him? No, dude, I'm busy. I'm working. That's your job. You know?
Yep.
Like I'm just working. I'm doing my job. Well, okay. Well, just go ahead and leave. And then I'll figure out where they're at and they'll come down and I was like, what? They get to do nothing but throw the logbook back inside the aircraft and lock the door? Fuck that. I'm already here. Send them out on another job, you know?
Yep.
Like at this point, I'm just sitting in the van, half asleep, waiting for the phone to ring. Thanks for your concern, but not really.
Exactly. And this kind of bleeds into that section we were talking about, which really stuck out to us. And the title itself is more than enough to really set the tone of what this part is, right? And it's called Stupid Stuff. That's the title of this section, Stupid Stuff. If you do something stupid, depending on the circumstances, you may be coached and given another chance, or you may be asked to leave. We can't afford to waste our time dealing with stupid stuff when we have so many important things to get done. If you need them, here are some examples of stupid things people do. Stating or stealing or deliberately damaging company property, disclosing confidential information, harassing or bullying others, physically hurting someone or threatening violence, possessing illegal drugs, possessing explosive weapons or firearms. The list goes on and on. If you think you're the kind of person who might do something that could be on the list of stupid stuff, do us all a favor and leave now. And this kind of goes into the no call, no show, right? If you feel like you can just kind of skate on by and let someone do majority of the work and you just show up for the end and take the credit, no. that's called.
I gotta believe though, like at least on the military side of the maintenance realm, and maybe even in some civilian shops, the harassing or bullying others, or physically hurting someone or threatening violence, those two usually resolve themselves. I got to tell you, at least in the aviation mechanics that I know, including myself, we're some of the best shit talking in the world. Almost untouchable. I'm sure there's some other industries out there that would argue with me on that one and say like, hey, we're all, we're better shit talkers, but aviation maintainers, we're pretty good at it, but I enjoy it, right? It's good banter back and forth, and really it's good team building in most regards. But if it's and you can tell when it's friendly shit talking versus like I don't like you shit talking, and usually in those instances they resolve themselves by a little behind the hanger coaching.
Yep.
Yep. A little bit of fisticuff retribution type thing.
Yes.
Oh, you got a lot to say, motherfucker. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
And then you come back in and you're like, so you guys all good? Yeah, I think we talked it out and we're all friends now, right? And the guy over there with the bloody nose, yeah, we're all good, bud.
I used to have a shop, going on that real quick. I used to have a shop where like they have this policy, the door is always open. But when the door closes, that's when you know shit's going to go down. That's kind of everyone's cue to leave, right? Because some individuals have a little of negotiations to go through. A real small tangent on that. But yeah, so we have shops like that where the door is always open. Every people can freely go and leave. And then the sign is when the door closes or when a certain door closes. That's kind of like everyone's cue to leave. And like as MVP said, like there's a lot of shit talking and a lot of bantering that goes back and forth, especially in the maintenance shop. There are certain things that it's just understood that we should not touch, and we're slowly coming up to modern times as to what that definition is. There's some that just kind of linger on, and there's some mindsets that still haven't caught up with it. That's usually regarding some inclusivity and stuff like that. But that can be a whole episode in itself.
Well, yeah, what you see is, right? So what you see is where I was going with it is I don't mean like any hateful speech or anything like that. But what I was going for is if there was somebody who's putting out hateful speech, typically those are one-off individuals. There's not a whole group of them. And typically they're new to the scene, and everybody else kind of has been there a while and already has that camaraderie built, right? So like, if I'm new to a shop and I'm coming in and I'm kind of badgering Six all day and I'm trying to establish my dominance or whatever else, there's going to be a whole bunch of other people in the shop who are Six isn't going to have to do anything. He's going to have everybody else come to his aid. Like, oh, new guy's got a lot of shit to say all of a sudden. All right, new guy, what's up? What's up with it, you know?
Right.
And essentially, like, I've been in shops like, oh my gosh, those are some funny days. I've been in shops like that where I've witnessed that happen, and the bully becomes the bullied.
Yep.
And to the point where everybody's goal every day when that person show up is to badger them to the point where they go home crying. You ever seen a grown man leave work crying for a week straight? It's incredible, especially when that guy's kind of a turd anyways, right? But I've witnessed it happen every day. They show up like, hey, what's up, piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. And then there's nothing that guy couldn't even put on his jacket right without being bullied after that. And he's like, why are you guys being this way? I'm like, oh, you showed up. You had a lot of shit to say. So we're just matching your energy. And eventually that one individual just ended up quitting. And it was no loss. It was really no loss to the shop at all. We just, aviation maintainers, we're pretty good about separating the weed from the chaff, you know, the wheat from the chaff.
Right. Or preserving the peace, you know what I mean? For as good or as bad as that is, like they're very good at preserving the peace. And there's certain things that we ourselves are working on, but generally speaking, yeah, we're pretty good about that. But going with the stupid stuff, right? Like say the no call, no shows or the bullying and whatnot. This anti-handbook kind of sets it in plain simple terms or plain simple words. Like if you're gonna be stupid, you're planning on being illegal, you plan on being implicit with your bad decisions, just do us a favor and take it somewhere else, like somewhere where like no one gives a shit if you try to set fire on things, right? And
just go away.
Yeah,
as it says in the handbook, just go away.
Yeah, just go away. We all think it, we all say it, but it's very rare we have a handbook that explicitly lists that, like in plain simple terms. Like if you're the type that likes to see what happens if you mix Skydroll with open fire, please don't. Just do that somewhere else, like your own house where you can.
Yeah, or at least don't do it in the hangar. Go like 250 yards away from the hangar.
Yeah, you know? and make sure you take off all the labels so no one can say that you got it here, stuff like that. And we all joke about it. We all say this and that, and there's all kinds of legal speak as to how that goes about. But in general terms, like this is one of the few things where it's very straight to the point. What I like too about this anti-handbook is the small section where it says moral of the story. Like, moral of the story, the theme above standards is simple. Just behave like any sort of person you want as your coworker. Treat everyone like you want to be treated. We must be the kind of company where people look forward to coming to work in the morning. Life is too short for anything else. I like that. I really like
a great closing statement.
I really like that, right? Pick apart all the different sections as you please, but maybe
we can drop this in the show notes for everybody to read.
Yeah, we definitely could. But like pros and cons of all this, it's pretty much straightforward. Like, just be the person you want. Don't be a freaking dick. Just be a decent fucking human, as many people and some other one famous podcaster would say. Just be a decent fucking human, and things will go great for you. Right now, how companies interpret this and how they apply this, that's a different story. But at least from a written down standpoint, it's pretty straightforward. And we all think it. We all say it. It's very rare that it's actually written in stone, so we can all have some kind of common ethic about it, if that makes any sort of sense to anybody. So, and then especially us in aviation, like it's one of those spoken / unspoken things. Like, hey, dude, just do your job, just show up, do your job, and ask for help if you need it. It's not too. It's one of those aspects, especially in aviation, where like the culture kind of speaks for itself as far as for what it's expected of you, and it kind of sets it in stone with what you're actually working on and how critical some of these items are and how sensitive they are to outside influences, especially because like
we have to operate to a high standard, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just, with a car, if it breaks down, you pull over to the side of the road. You're not pulling over an aircraft. Obviously, depending on the situation, you might be able to glide it in or emergency land somewhere safely. But what I'm getting at is it's not just as simple as pulling over to the side of the road. It's a way more high stakes game.
Yes,
people's lives are dependent upon you. So that high standard that we had talked about earlier in this anti-handbook applies to us as aviation maintainers. We have to operate. We have to ping at that high resolution because the chances, if and when things fail, they fail in what's the word? Large scale, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And so what we get from this anti-handbook, it kind of goes into what we've been saying for a good number of times, and that's like setting the expectations for people and for a company, right? We can break this down into like, let's say six tips. Let's call it that. 6 tips. 6 is tips. One is like emphasize the objectives, right? Set the terms early. Let them have clear, concise direction of what you want. Set the expectations early, right? Don't wait for them to be knee deep in a problem before you say, oh, hey, by the way, I want you to do this. Example is some of MVP's examples. Like, don't just say, hey, do stuff, and then tell me at the end of the story, like, oh, no, I want it to be like this after you've already done the work. Thanks a lot. It doesn't matter anymore. Rounds down range. Make people accountable for what they're supposed to do. And it speaks very clearly in this anti-handbook. And we've spoken very deeply about it in all our previous episodes, is make people accountable for what they do. Example for that is like when you do something shady and you get your certification cut up. Sorry, that's just how it is. Yeah. Another big one is what MVP has alluded to numerous times is give meaningful feedback, right? Don't just give feedback like your 7 words or less. Give something that's actually going to be usable and actionable and meaningful, right? Oh, hey, you did great on this. I would like you to adjust fire on this, or you did terrible on this. Here's how we can do to get you on track. Fucking fantastic. I love it. Leverage motivation, right? Like sometimes or another, we kind of run out of gas. We need a little bit of validation, some kind of oomph to help us through the day. And sometimes that motivation can be, I hate to say this, a pizza party. Sometimes it can be some time off.
Well, be a pizza party without ulterior motives behind it.
Yes, right.
Hey, just be a pizza party.
You're right. Pizza party. By the way, we're working this weekend. Fuck.
Yeah, just be a pizza party and say, have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And then make it measurable. Give it. Don't just say, hey, I want you to do great things. Well, define great, because your great and my great can be completely different. Like my great is me being CEO in 12 days. It's not going to fucking happen. Right. But if you're going to set a goal, make it something that's attainable for one, and then measurable. Like we know we're getting there because we've crossed these milestones, right? Things of that nature. So as far as this handbook is concerned, there's a little ambiguity, yes, but for the most part, it spells things out pretty clearly and hits those 6 wickets for the most part. So for anyone who has a company or is in charge of a section, maybe have something similar to this where you expect your team or your people to perform to this measure, or at least communicate what you want for them. Because if you just kind of here's your Bible of policies and expect them to kind of just understand it, take a week to 2 weeks to kind of absorb it, it's probably not going to happen. Sorry to say. And MVP's example too, like give them like a quick synopsis with some ready references for them to look up if they so choose to. By all means, whichever way, make it work, right? By missing anything on that one, MVP?
No, I think you hit all the nails on the head. My closing statement here would be go read through your own handbooks. Now, as we talked about before, that could be a lengthy task, but maybe just look up some of the things that we've talked about today in this handbook within your own, and just enlighten yourselves on kind of what it says, how you're supposed to be operating to. You actually might find that you're going above and beyond, which is great. You might find out that others aren't holding themselves to the same standards, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're in a leadership role, you can use that book to help your team improve. And if you're not in a leadership role, you could also use it as you could send it out as a reminder to everybody on your team. Hey, all, just was reading through this and I noticed these kind of things, and not sure if everybody was aware of this, but I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention just to educate the team and edit and show how we can improve and get better, or XYZ, whatever reasons. It's just a way to show, you're not really openly calling out anybody on the team, but it's a good reminder to those who are underperforming.
Yes.
That it is noticed, right? But without calling them out directly.
Yep, absolutely. But hey, let us know what you think, right? What do you guys think about this anti-handbook? What do you think about any handbook? And say if you're in an organization that has a union, what sort of things like are good about this? What sort of things are bad? What sort of things that you wish that you could have a handbook say without being overly drenched in some kind of legal speak? Personally, I think like this anti-handbook is kind of akin to like say from the desk of the CEO type of letter. It's more like a letter than a handbook. But hey, like as we said, like this would be a great synopsis that could have some ready references available, right? And I think this is kind of where this was going, right? Not to actually be the be all end all handbook, but more so like from the desk of the CEO kind of thing. But hey, let us know what you think. What sort of things are good and bad? What sort of things have we missed? What sort of things do you think we should include for a revisit of an episode? Let us know in our comments, our show notes. Hit us up on our various social medias, our email, our website. The absolute best way to get in touch with us and to have interactions with us is by joining Patreon and getting on board our Discord. We have all sorts of conversations like this all the time. We have all sorts of lessons learned and wisdom passed amongst each other, where we and some of the things we just learned for the first time ourselves. Example is this handbook and other stuff. But hey, let us know what you think, and hopefully we get some feedback. We can revisit this on a future episode. On that note, hey, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all again on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show. and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX, the number 4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.